Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome. Today's Daf is Shekelim Ches. We are right on top on the first line. Tamon Taninan, we learned over there in the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah. This is going back to Ma'aser Behema. So all the newborn animals, kosher animals, need to undergo a process of Ma'aser Behema. You take them, put them in a deer, a pen, and have them come out single file. You count them, every 10th one. You dab some paint on it, some red paint, soikroi besikra, and that's Ma'aser Behema, used as a korban. Now, technically speaking, all animals born within this year can be bunched together, can be grouped together, and you can apply one Ma'aser Behema on all of them together. Midrabanan, however, we learned this yesterday, there are 3 granes. Now, the term gurn is generally reference to produce, to grain, and when they're finished, it's a finished product, that's called the gurn. Generally, it means referring to the pile, a smoothed out pile of grain. That's considered nigmar malachtoi, and that grain is now chayv and maser. We applied that term, we borrowed that term to animals as well. And we learned that there are 3 dates, 3 periods, 3 designated dates throughout the year. The 3 granes, where the Chachamim said, you know what, anything born up until this day, stop right here, group those animals together as one, and do maser on them. Then when we get to the next designated date, that's the next gurn, we take all the animals born from now to then, we group them together and do maser on them, etc. But technically, Minat Torah, you can take all the animals born within this year and do maser behema on them. However, you cannot combine this year's animals and next year's animals. If you have 5 this year and 5 born next year, you can't combine them. Just as when it comes to the maser and truma of grain, of fruit, each year has its own designation, its own unique designation, and you cannot mix and match. Now, what's considered this year? What's the Rosh Hashanah with respect to Ma'aser Behema? When it comes to us, to people, it's Rosh Hashanah, Echad B'Tishrei. What about Ma'aser Behema? We have machlekes. Tamon Taninan, we learned elsewhere in the Mishnah. There may Omer Be'echad Be'elul. Rosh Hashanah Ma'aser Behema. Rosh Hashanah pertaining to Ma'aser Behema is when? The first day of Elul. The Gemara soon will explain why. Rabbi Yehuda Shimon Omer, they say Be'echad B'Tishrei. So Echad B'Tishrei, which happens to be Rosh Hashanah, is also the initiation of the new year for Ma'aser Behema. Anything born until Rosh Hashanah is considered one group of animals. Anything after Rosh Hashanah belongs to the new crop, the new group for next year. Ben Azai Omer, he says like this. Being that we have 2 shittas, Rameir says the year begins Be'echad Be'elul. So Elul belongs to the coming year. Rabbi Yehuda and Shimon say the new year begins Echad B'Tishrei. So Elul belongs to the past year. So machlekes, is Elul from the past or from the future? I'm going to strike a compromise, a pshara. Says Ben Azai Omer, Ha'eluliyim, the ones born within Elul, they have their own category. Mis Asher B'fnei Atzman, we treat them separately, we do Ma'aser Behema on them separately. We don't mix them and combine them with the other animals born throughout the year, because we're not sure which year Elul belongs to. Amar B'chuna Tama de Rabbi Meir. What's Rabbi Meir's reason? That the year ends at the beginning of Elul, meaning up until the end of Av is considered part of last year. Why? Ad kan hein mismatzos. Up until this point, up until and not including the beginning of Elul, they produce mismatzos leiled min hayishanis. They give birth from the previous season, meaning generally mating time was Adar time. The Yimei Ibor, the time it takes for these animals to give birth is 5 months. So if the mating period was Adar, we have Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av. Anything born until the end of Av is considered part of last year's crop. Mikan ve'ilach, from here on in, meaning going forward, they give birth from the new season's mating. So we assume anything born until the end of Av was as a result of the Adar mating season, as opposed to anything beyond that, which is already connected to the next season and has a separate category. Rabbi Yossi bar Abun b'shem Rav Chuna, Talmud of Rav Shimon, they presented Rav Shimon's reason. Why is it that we give it another month? They say the year stretches until Tishrei, leaving Elul with last year. Why? Because they agree that generally the mating season is Adar, but sometimes there's a delay and we give it another month. We extend it for another month, and that's still considered part of last year's crop. Lovshu karamatzayin, this is a term for the animals mating. Ela bchiros, this is a reference to the early birds, the ones who mate earlier. V'amakom ya'atfu bar, ela afelos, this is a reference to the later ones who delay, procrastinate, and up until another month is still considered part of last year's crop. Yisroya'u af yashiru, they will befriend each other and sing. Elu nechnasam l'dilis aser. The early ones and the later ones befriend each other. They go into the deer, into the pen together to undergo the maser behema process. Yisroya'u, they befriend each other. Af yashiru, they sing, meaning you use them for the carbon. I want you to say shira. Apparently, even the ones that delay a bit are still regarded as part of last year's crop. So according to Reb Meir, you have 5 months. From Adar, you count 5 months, which lands you at the end of Av. Elul belongs to next year. According to Reb Lezer, Reb Shimon, we give you another month extension. Amar ben Azai. Now, I'm in a predicament. Where does Elul go? Does it attach itself to last year or to the coming year? Amar ben Azai. Since these maintain such, and these maintains as such. So there's a machlekes what Elul connects to. Yiu ha'elulim mis asrin b'fnei atzman will have the ones born in Elul undergo their own independent masa behema, and we won't combine them with neither year. Okay, how does this work? Nodu lebeheba of Elul. Let's say he had 5 animals born in Av and 5 in Elul. They can't connect, they can't combine, because perhaps Elul belongs to next year. Veheba Tishrei, you have 5 born in Elul and 5 in Tishrei. You can't join them together, and you don't necessarily have 10 animals to create the masa behema requirement. Ein mitzdarf, and they don't combine. Because Elul is a suffix, we don't know to which year to relate it to. But let's say you had 5 born this year in Tishrei, Tavshin Ayin Dalet, Veheba Av, and another 5 the following of that same year, Tavshin Ayin Dalet, many months later, 9 months later. However, would start and they combine, and the chiddush here is, although you've passed through the various granos, the 3 designated periods for Masa Behema, as mentioned in our Mishnah, but those are only sort of artificial dates established by the Chachamim for appropriate for Masa Behema. But technically, Minat Torah, of course, anything born within the year, within this 12-month period, can be joined together and combined for Masa Behema. We have Ben Azai who is striking a compromise between the words of Reb Meir, who on the one hand says Elul begins to the next year, and Reb Lezer, Reb Shimon, who are also Ben Azai's Talmidim, who maintain that Elul belongs to the previous year, and he's coming to strike a pshara between his Talmidim. He should have took the liberty to just decide and determine and teach it to them. Also, Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Yasha b'shem Rabbi Shmuel, Bar Yitzchak. So they came along with Rabbi Yirmiyah and Rabbi Yasha and said in the name of Shmuel Yitzchak, and they explained the reason why Ben Azai was unsure was because really this machlekes was an ancient machlekes. Shekei nechleku oleh avos ha'olam. Avos ha'olam, the great chacham of previous generations, of days of old, they already had a machlekes, and therefore he didn't see that he can go ahead and decide and determine which shita is correct. Uman ninu avos ha'olam, who are the avos ha'olam that we're referring to? Tana Rabbi Yehuda Kumi Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yehuda presented in front of Rabbi Yirmiyah that this is in reference to 2 Tanoim of previous generations, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Kiva. And they had this machlekes as well. which year does Elul belong to, the previous or the coming year. And that's why Ben Azai, when he was referring to this discussion amongst his Talmidim, he couldn't just decide amongst them, because really this machlekes was an extension, was a reflection of a previous machlekes. In previous days, which involved Rabbi Shmuel or Kiva, who great Chachamim, who Ben Azai apparently didn't see that he is authorized to go ahead and decide and determine between them. Says the Gemara, Zoysemeres, this apparently implies that Ben Azai chaver v'talmud haya de Rabbi Kiva. He was also a chaver, colleague, and also a talmud. He learned something from him. So he's somewhere between a chaver and a talmud of Rabbi Kiva. Why? In Tema Rabbi, because if you'll say that Rabbi Kiva was Ben Azai's Rebbe, Ben Azai would not refer to Rabbi Kiva in such a direct way. Right? Ben Azai was the one who said, look, I can't decide, because since Hayil ve'elu oimrim kach, I have those that say this and those that say that, and he's referring to Rabbi Shimon or Kiva. If Rabbi Kiva was his Rebbe, he wouldn't speak about him in such a direct manner, such a blunt way. These say this and these say that. In Tema Rabbi, if Rabbi Kiva would have been Ben Azai's Rebbe, is Barnash Amal Rabbi, is there a person who refers to his Rebbe like that? Hayil ve'elu amru kach, ve'elu amru kach. That's not the proper way. It's not the respectful way to refer to a Rebbe. Apparently, Rabbi Kiva wasn't really Ben Azai's Rebbe. He was somewhere in between. He was his friend, his chaver, and also taught him something. So, on the one hand, Ben Azai didn't see that he should be qualified to go ahead and decide that machlekes between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Kiva regarding the status of Elul, because apparently Rabbi Kiva was somewhat higher than him. But on the other hand, he didn't hesitate to refer to him in a direct way. These say this and these say that, because at the end of the day, he was his chaver. Rabbi Aben b'shem Rabbi Shmuel bar Yitzchak, Shamallah, he proved this point, that Ben Azai was a Talmud chaver. He was a student colleague of Rabbi Kiva. He proved it from this. Min Hadav, from this Mishnah, where we find several machlekes between the Shammai and Sila regarding Yerusha, and in one case, there's no machlekes, they both agree how to proceed. And Rabbi Kiva actually maintains there was a machlekes between Beisham and Betzil in that case as well. And Ben Azai didn't like it. He said, Amalei Ben Azai. He turned to Rabbi Kiva. Allah chalukin on him mistarim. Look, we're in distress regarding the halachos, where we know there's a machlekes between Beisham and Betzil. That distresses us. You're going to add more machlekes on things where they seem to see eye to eye. In any case, we see that Ben Azai referred to Rabbi Kiva in a very blunt and direct way. So this proves Ben Azai chaver v'talmud hava, not Rabbi Kiva. He was a chaver and a talmud in Tema Rabbi, because if Rabbi Kiva would have been his Rebbe, is Barnash, is there a person, Amal Rabbi, that tells his Rebbe, that refers to him in such a blunt way, you're coming to create a machlekes where we have even ground? It's a disrespectful way of referring to your Rebbe. Apparently, Ben Azai wasn't really a Talmud, he was a Talmud chaver. Let's summarize this segment in the Gemara. We discussed the concept of Rosh Hashanah l'Masa Behema. Anything born within the year can technically be joined together and combined for Masa Behema. What is considered Rosh Hashanah? When does the year initiate? According to Reb Meir, Be'echad Be'el, because it's already 5 months after mating season, in which case last season's crop has already been produced. According to Reb Shimon, we give it another month, and Elul belongs to last year. But Nazir wasn't sure. Let Elul stand alone. Anything born within Elul has its own Maser Behem. And we proved that Ben Azai was a Talmud Chaver of Rabbi Kiva. Taman Tanyan, we learned in the Mishnah B'cheres. Anything born from Rosh Hashanah until the end of the year, all the way till the 29th of Elul, Hara'elu Mitzdarfen, they can be combined for Maser Behem. Chamisha Lefnei Rosh Hashanah, V'hei La'achar Rosh Hashanah, 5 born before Rosh Hashanah, 5 after, and Mitzdarfen, you can't join them together. Because each one is related to its respective year. You can't mix things together. Hey Lefnei HaGoren, V'la'achar HaGoren, what if 5 were born before the Goren? Those are the designated dates established by Chachamim when you're supposed to do the Maaseh Behema. So we have 5 born before the Gurn, Vehela Acha Gurn, and 5 after. Here with Starfen, they can join together. Technically, once again, anything born within this year, within this 12-month period, can join together, despite the fact that some were born before the Gurn and some after. Amar Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef made the following observation. You know, when it comes to trumas and maestras from grain and from olives and grapes and fruits growing on trees, we have different halachas regarding determining the level of maturity of those products needed, how much is needed, how much development is needed to establish its master identity, meaning every year of the 7-day Shemitah, of a 7-year Shemitah cycle has different halachas, different designations, different master requirements. So when it comes to fruit growing on a tree, we follow chanata, the budding process. As soon as it buds, that has already reached the threshold, the minimum threshold of development, in which case this budding fruit has already been identified as belonging to this year's crop, this year's season, and this year's halachas of maser. Even though it's not yet edible, but since the initial growth took place during the first year of the Shemitah cycle, it has the halachas of that year. For instance, on the first day you have maser rishon and maser ani, you know, maser sheni, that only belongs on the third year of the Shemitah cycle. So we follow budding, chanata, when it comes to grains, olives. We follow the halach of shlish. If it developed a third of its growth, in which case it's already ro'i la'achilu b'shas atchak. You can still technically eat it out of necessity. That's already enough developed, and the year in which it developed is shlish. That year's halachas applies to this produce. So we have 2 separate concepts. One is called chanata by fruit, the budding process. One is called higia shlish, hevi shlish, when it comes to tvua. The question is regarding maaseh behema. We say anything born within this year relates to this year. It's part of this year's crop. Evidently, we're not following. The question is, what formula are we following? What should we compare maaseh behema to? What does it correspond to? Chanata, budding, or shlish, having grown a third? In which case it's somewhat edible. Now, it's certainly not similar to chanata, to budding, because in that case, even the ibur, the days of pregnancy, should be reckoned with. Right? It's like the budding process, the initiation of the development process. Well, when it comes to maaseh behema, we don't follow ibur. We follow Leda. It needs to be born within this year to be eligible for this year's maaseh behema. So the concept of chanata applied to trees certainly doesn't apply to maaseh behema. The question is regarding shlish. That also doesn't apply. Remember, something which grew a third is already roy la'achila somewhat. However, when it comes to a newborn animal, it's not yet roy for a carbon. You need to wait 8 days for it to be roy la'hakrab. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Hadoi Meres. We can conclude from this halach, this brisa, this mishnah we just mentioned, that we follow the birth of the animal. Anything born within this year is related to this year regarding maaseh behema. This proves that maaseh behema has its own set of rules. Maaseh behema lo yosu oisa. They didn't apply to maaseh behema the formula of lo kechanat. It's not similar to the budding process by a tree, but like a shlish, nor does the concept of a third growth. Why? In tema kechanat, because if the concept of chanata, budding, is applied here, lisni kalamu barim me'echad b'tishrei ad esrim v'tishim be'el. The Mishnah should say, you know which animals belong to this year's crop? Anything which was mu'ubar, which was during the pregnancy period. That's like chanata. And that can relate to this year. We don't follow ibur, we follow later. Apparently chanata doesn't apply. In tema kashlish. If you'll seek to apply the concept of a third of its growth to maaseh behema, that also doesn't apply. Why? Lisni kol hanoyladim ad esem v'shnayim be'elul. if we would apply the concept of shlish, any minimal edibility is already qualifies. So when it comes to Maaseh Behema, you would have to say anything born from Rosh Hashanah until the 22nd of El is considered this year's crop. Because by the time the year is over, it's already 8 days old, and Roi Fakrava, which is really the point of doing Maaseh Behema. The fact is, we don't say that. The Mishnah didn't say up until the 22nd of El. The Mishnah went on and said until the 29th of El, until the last day of the year. Come the end of the year, this newborn animal is barely a day old, and not Roi for anything. It doesn't really have any suitability. It doesn't have any function, carbon function. Still, it's considered part of this year's crop. Apparently, none of those formulas which are applied to produce, to tvua and pears, applies to Maaseh Behema, which is a chiddush. As long as it's born within this year, it is connected to this year's season, this year's crop, even though it has no function, not suitable for our crop. Rabbi Shammai said in the name of B'Shem Rav Beiva Bar Chia, no. He says, let's apply the concept of shlish. Why? Because shlish also isa. They regarded this newborn animal like a third, like as though it reached a third of its development, which is the formula used by Tfuah. How's that? We're speaking about a newborn animal on the last day of the year. You can't use it for Maaseh Behema at this point. You can't bring it for Akrava. Why is it called edible? Why is it called suitable for something? It's not. Rabbi Shimon, following Rabbi Shimon Shita, who says that even an animal which is less than 8 days old, although you cannot yet bring it for a carbon, but you can put it through the Maaseh Behema process. You can put it into the pen, have it walk by single file, and choose it. You could even choose it from Maaseh Behema. Then you'll have to wait a few days to bring it for a carbon. So since even when it's young, just a day old, it's already eligible for Maaseh Behema, that's why it relates to this year's crop. It belongs to this year's produce. Even if it's less than 8 days old, in which case it's not yet Roi Fakrava, Nichnas L'Dilis Aser, it can be brought into the deer, into the pen for Maaseh Behema. So the kasha was, a newborn animal on the last day of the year, why is that considered this year's crop if it's not Roi Fakrava? The answer is, it's Roi for the process of Maaseh Behema, although you'll have to wait for Akrava. The fact that you can put it through the Maaseh Behema process and combine it with all the other animals born this year, it relates to this year. It's identified as part of this year's crop. Come Rabbi Mana in Rabbi Shammai. Rabbi Mana confronted Rabbi Shammai. He says, I want to alter this approach. I don't like this approach. Amalei at Amras Chadam also. You're proposing this pshat? No, following Reb Shimon, even a mechusad zman can be meisered. Look, Tamon Tanina, we have a Mishnah elsewhere. This was the Mishnah mentioned earlier. Ben Azai Omer ha'ululiyim mis asron la'atzman. Right? Ben Azai had a suffix regarding the status of Elul. Never said anything born with an Elul had its own category, its own maser. It sounds like anything born throughout Elul, from the 1st all the way to the 29th of Elul, is eligible for this halach. Loi, should we not say afilu noilad ad esem v'tish be'Elul? Even something born up until the last day of Elul joins forces with the other Elul animals and is treated like an animal, like an Elul product. Now we're speaking about a 1-day-old animal. Islach meimar. Now according to you, you're going to have to say ben azek Reb Shimon like Rabbanon. This only works according to Reb Shimon, that a mechusas zman is eligible for Maaseh Behema. So this shita ben Azai is following Reb Shimon, not Rabbanon. It's hard to believe that he's following a das yachid. Oh, I have a different approach. Kamad at Omar al the Rabbanon. So just as you're going to have to explain that according to the Rabbanon, although the Rabbanon maintain that what? That an animal less than 8 days old cannot enter the deer for Maaseh Behema. He cannot undergo the process. But still, anything born within this calendar year is regarded as part of this year's product, this year's crop. How are you going to do the Maser Behema? You wait a few days. That's okay. So technically you can't do Maser Behema. Wait until he's 8 days old. But the fact that he was born this year makes him part of this year's season's crop. That's not a kasha. So initially the Gemara had it as a kasha. Something that's newborn is not really developed yet. Why are you relating it to this year if it doesn't really have a function? You can't bring it on the Mizbech. The answer is fine. I can't bring it on the Mizbech. And even if I can't do Maser Behema yet until he's 8 days old, that's fine. I'll wait patiently for another 8 days and then do Maser Behema. But he still relates to last year, meaning the year in which he was born. The birth, the Leda, is what determines. That's the determining criteria. So the kasha falls away. Let's see inside. K'modat Omar al Rabban. Just as you're going to have to explain according to Rabbanan who disagrees with Reb Shimon. They hold that anything too young cannot even undergo the Maser Behema process. Apparently they'll hold Manichan l'shana haba. Anything born, even on the last day of the year, just leave it a couple of days into next year. Ve'emes Asher ibnei Shnasan. And they'll combine with the ones born last year. And you do Maser then, that's okay. Keinat Omar al Ben Azai, sending according to Ben Azai. He says, anything born with an El can be combined together, has its own status, has its own Maser Behema status. Even one born on the last day of El. Manichan l'goren haba, we'll leave it for the next season, or whatever it is, next year. Ve'emes Asher ibnei Elulim. And then you'll combine it with other ones that were born within that same month of El, and do Maser Behema. So we had 3 steps in the Gemara. The initial kasha was, why do we say that anything born throughout the year, even on the last day of that year, can join forces with the other animals born early in the year? And it's all considered the same bunch, the same crop, product of the same year. Something born on the last day is not a suitable candidate for a carbon. So he's not really fully developed. He can't relate to this year. You can't apply the Maser Behema process to him, meaning with respect to Maser Behema, he's not a finished product. He belongs to next year, when he'll be old enough. That was the kash. First answer of the Gemara was the following: Reb Shimon, who says that even underage is roy for the Maser Behema process. You could take it into the deer and choose him as Maser Behema. So that potential eligibility, meaning the fact that he could undergo the process, that has us relate to him differently, as though he's a finished product and he is connected to this year. The conclusion of the Gemara was, no, you don't even have to say that. Even if he's not ready for Maser Behema at all until he's 8 days old, the fact is, when was he born? This year? He belongs to this year's crop. To do Maser Behema, I'll wait a couple of days, that's okay. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Ach, Zois Emeres. Okay, based on this concept, this new concept, that we begin counting from day one, even if he's not yet roy for carbon or even for Maser Behema process, he's already identified with this year, the year of his birth. Zois Emeres. So based on this, we can have another application of this concept. Yomim shabachor mechusazman. We know that a bachor is meant to be eaten within the first year. But the first 8 days, until he's 8 days old, he's not ready for a krava. The question is, when we count a year, do we begin from day 1, day of birth, or do we wait until he's already 8 days old? Now you can begin counting his year. Says Rabbi Yehuda, even those first days, in which case he's still underage, they all count for the year of the Bechor. Why? Because as soon as he's born, you begin counting his days. And that's based on the previous Gemara, that the Zman Leda is the determinant factor. So although he's not ready for Hakrova, but he's still 2 days old, he's still 3 days old, and at the end of the year, let's say end of 365 days, he's already 365 days old. We don't have to discount the first 7 days when he wasn't royal akram. Amar Rabbi Mana, Amar Rabbi Yoina, Abba, my father, Shama Laminada. He proved this point from the following pasuk. You begin counting from moment of birth. A new b'char, you have to be magdish. Kasha is, b'char is already kaddish. You don't have to be magdish. This is a drasha. The pasuk is teaching us something. Haketzat, mishas leidasai atmoina leishana. You begin counting his year from the moment of birth. From the moment of birth, Tagdish, the Kedusha, the B'char status begins then. You have up until the first year to consume the B'char. Continues the Mishnah, V'sholish kupais sholish tzin, Termas Alishka. Now we're going to describe Termas Alishka. The Rambam Pirsha Mishnah learns as follows. You have the Lishka, the chamber, in which they deposited all the Machzis HaShekel coins. The Rambam learns that once a year, on the Echad Ben Nisan, they would take 3 jumbo containers, 3 huge kupas. Each one of those had the capacity to contain 9 sa'ah. So they scooped out 9 sa'ah, another 9 sa'ah, another 9 sa'ah. Now they have 3 huge kupas. Then they would do 3 steps, 3 times Trumas Halishka again. What does that mean? They would take 3 smaller sized containers, smaller kupas. Each one of those contains only 3 sa'ah capacity. They would approach the first jumbo kupa, which contains 9 sa'ah. Take this small basket, which only contains 3. Scoop out, fill it up with coins. Put it aside. Take the next smaller basket, which has a 3 sa'ah content. Scoop up from the second jumbo kupa. Approach the third jumbo kupa and do the same. This happened beginning of Nisan. And this happened again Fri Jun, and again before Sukkot. Meaning, they would fill those huge kupas, each one containing 9 sa'ah. 3 of them, they would do that once a year. Scoop out all that content from the Trumas, from the Lishka. Then they would approach those kupas with smaller ones. 3 smaller ones, each one containing 3 sa'ah. They would scoop 1 small kupa full from the big kupa here, go over to the next one, take another small kupa, scoop out from there, and do the same to the third. This process of these small kupas scooping out of the large kupas will take place 3 times a year. B'sholish kupas, sholisin, using 3 baskets, 3 containers, 3 pushkas, each one with a 3 sa'ah content. They would use that to do Trumas Halishka, Terminus Halishka. Because of Alain, on those 3 kupas were written Aleph Beis Gimel. The Gemara will explain why. Rishmal Omer Yivonus Kosav Alain was in Greek Alpha Beis Gimel, which was the language spoken at that time during Beis Sheni. Ein Atoyer Nichnas. Now the one doing Trumas Halishka, he must make sure to avoid arousing any suspicion that perhaps he pocketed some money. So when he goes in there, Ein Atoyer Nichnas, he can't go in lo pargut, a robe, chafas, that's hemmed. You can't have any hidden pockets where you might pocket some money. V'lo b'minol, nor with a shoe, v'lo b'sandal, a sandal, v'lo b'tefillin, v'lo b'kamiyah, an amulet. Because you might hide some money in there. So you're meant to come clean. Meant to create the right impression. Not to cause others to perhaps suspect that you stole some money. Shem miyeni, because perhaps you might get poor. People can say, I know I got poor. They'll say, the reason why he got poor is because of the chet of stealing from the lishka. Or conversely, he might strike it rich, he might get wealthy, and people will say, I know where he got his money from. He pocketed the Trumas Halishka money. They'll say, Trumas Halishka Esher. He got wealthy from the Trumas Halishka. Therefore, do it in a way where you don't create any doubts, any wrong impressions. A person has to account for. He's responsible for creating the right impression amongst people. Just as he has to be accountable to Hashem. He can't say, well, I'm accountable only to Hashem, and I disregard public perception. No. You must look after, you're accountable. You must prevent arousing chashash and chashad. Shenem Rabbi Yisim Nikim Hashem Yisrael must be clean with respect to Hashem and also Yisrael. Create the right impression. You must find favor. But not only bein elikim, therefore we ensure that he does it in a way which eliminates any chashash, any arousal of suspicions. Taman taninan, we learned elsewhere, this is a Mishnah in Shabbos. If one has some guests, or he has talmidim, and he has to clear the storage, he has kupos, boxes of grain, he's allowed to do that. He's allowed to clear them out. Taman taninan mefanin, you can clear afilu dalad v'chamish kupos, even 4 or 5 containers. And it's not considered an excessive tircha, you're allowed to do it on Shabbos. Now, what's the maximum size of these containers? Rabbi Zira Shal es Rabbi Yosha. He asked Rabbi Yosha as follows: Kamu hu shiur and shal kupos. What's the maximum capacity of these boxes? Until what point do we allow them to transport them on Shabbos? And we're not concerned about tircha. Amalei, he told them, Nilmoid sasam min hamafurish. Over there it's not clear what size baskets we're speaking about, but let's derive it from a Mishnah in Shekelim where it is specified. The definition of this term kupa is actually pretty much defined. The Tanya b'shalosh kupas shalosh se'in shehein tisha etzin. The Brisa says like this: we use 3 kupas. Right, those are the smaller containers. Each one has a capacity for 3 sa'ah, and it's a total of 9. Meaning the larger baskets, the jumbo containers from which you are taking, each one contains 9. Shein tishasin, shehein, for a total of how much? You have 3 containing 9 each. Shein esrim v'sheva sin, a total of 27 sa'ah of coins. Tumas alishka, that's how you do tumas alishka. So we see that what? That a kupa can contain up to 9 sa'ah. So up until that much, you can transport on Shabbos. Because of Alain, and on the kupas, these smaller containers, in which you do the Tumas Alishka, we have 3 of them. Because of Alain, Aleph, Beis, Gimel. You write on the first one Aleph, the second one Beis, the third one Gimel. Why? Because of Alain, Aleph, Beis, Gimel. Loimar, to indicate that Mistapek min Rishon Neked Mishnia. First use the content of the first basket before you proceed to the second. First ensure that the second basket's content was depleted, and then go to the third one. It's like Ein Mavir al Mitzvahs. The first one that comes your way, use it first. That's why each one was labeled Aleph and Beis and Gimel. Tana and Tanina. We learned in the Mishnah in Shabbos. HaMoitzi Yain. What is the shear of Haitzah when it comes to wine on Shabbos? How much is considered significant? A shear of Chashivas, which would be considered a malacha if one carries it out into the street on Shabbos. How much raw, meaning undiluted, highly concentrated wine is reckoned with, is considered? A quarter of a kais. Because they would generally dilute their wine with a formula of 1 part wine to 3 parts water. So when one is carrying out undiluted wine, he needs to have enough wine there that when he dilutes it, he will produce a kais of wine, a kais of diluted wine. Like Merson will tell us that a kais means a revius. So bottom line is, a quarter of a revius of undiluted wine is chashav enough and is considered a melach veitzah. Rabbi Zira Shal Rabbi Yosha. We speak about a kais. What is a kais? Kamashur and shal kais. Amalei, he told him, Nilmat sasim and mefurish. Fine, over here it's not clear, but elsewhere we have clarity, and we'll learn from there. We'll learn the unspecified, the sasam, from a furish, for another place where we find an exact definition to the word kais, which is a revius. The Tarabchia. Arba kaises she'amru, those 4 kaises we drink at the night of the Seder. How much undiluted wine do we need for that? Yeshnan revius shal yain beitalke. You need a revius of Italian, strong Italian, highly concentrated Italian wine. A revius of that to supply your 4 kaises. What does this prove to us? That a kais is a revius. Why? Very simple. This yaini talki was diluted. 1 part wine to 3 parts water. If he says you need a revius of undiluted wine to produce 4 kaises, apparently we're trying to take a revius of undiluted and produce how much? 4 revius, right? Because it's a quarter undiluted and 3/4 water. So 1 revius of undiluted produces a total of 4 revius of diluted wine. For the 4 kaises. Apparently a kais is a revius. So now we know the halacha for Hitzah Shabbos as well. We speak about Kedei Mezigas HaKais. You need enough wine to produce a kais of a diluted wine. We're speaking about producing a revius of diluted wine. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler. This shear, this halacha that wine is connected with diluted wine, meaning the shear for Hitzah on Shabbos is related to how much is needed to dilute, to create, to produce a revius of diluted wine, is Rabbi Yehuda Shita. The Rabbi Yehuda, the Tani, we learned, Mayim, what is the shear of Mayim for Hitzah Shabbos? How much water has chashivas? Kedei gmiya, an amount that you swallow at once, a swallow. Rabbi Yehuda kedei loshev ben esakilo, enough water to dilute the eye paint. What about yayin? How much wine is considered chashiv? Kedei gmiya, a swallow. Rabbi Yehuda kedei mezigas hakos, enough wine to produce a diluted revius of wine. So we see that this concept is related to Rabbi Yehuda. Now what if a person carries out, on Shabbos that is, he carries diluted wine? How much is needed for Hitzah? Perhaps you need less than a revius. Why? Because although a revius was considered the end goal, but that was when you were speaking about concentrated wine. How much undiluted wine has chashivas? Enough to produce a revius of diluted wine. But when we speak about wine which was already diluted, it's a finished product. Perhaps that has more chashivas. You don't need as much to give it prominence as chashivas. Perhaps even less than a revius is considered haitzah. The Gemara is going to conclude, no, you need a revius as well. Let's derive it from this halach. Right? The Brisa says, Mayim, how much is considered chashivas, a shear for water? Could they give me a swallow? Could they losh a kilo enough to thin out the eye paint? Yain, what is the sheer haitzah for undiluted wine? Could they give me a swallow? Rabbi Yehuda, could they mizigas hakos? Enough to produce a revius of diluted wine, meaning a quarter of a revius of undiluted wine has chashivas. Hada Amra, this proves the point. Mazak, could they mizigas hakos? Even when you carry out diluted wine, we're working with the same formula. A kais mazak, a revius of diluted wine. Meaning, just as we find when it comes to undiluted wine, we work with a formula of revius diluted. So a quarter of a revius of undiluted wine, since it can produce a revius of diluted wine, that's why it has chashivas. Likewise, when he carries out diluted wine, it must be a revius. We don't say, well, since it's a finished product, you don't need as much. The Gemara is assuming it goes hand in hand. Kama shiur shel kos. What exactly is the shear? How do we describe the shear of a kos or a revius in nowadays terms? Rabbi Abin Amar titratay. This was a measuring unit. Titratay revius, 1 1/4 of this measuring unit. That's considered a revius. Getting back to Pesach, Chacham instituted a sequence for the Arba Kaises. On the first one we say Kiddush, the second one we say the Haggadah, the third one Bechas HaMazon, the fourth one Halal. What if he chooses to drink them in close succession? Out of sequence. One after the other, without Halal, etc. Is he Yaitse? Says the Gemara, he is. Medur ma Rabbi Mana. Since Rabbi Mana told us that Rabbi Yesi, Halal, Im Shaman, Veis HaKnesses Yotza, if one hears Halal in Shul, he's already Yaitse. There's no need for him to repeat it at home. So when it comes to his 4 kaises, he's not going to say Halal on his 4th kais. Hada Amra, this proves that Im Shasan B'krach Echad Yotza. If he drank them all together in one bundle, one sitting, without the Halal on the 4th kais, etc., he's Yaitse. So Chatchila, there's a sequence and an order. That's what we call it Seder. But if he drinks them in one sitting, he's also Yaitse. Maulish toisin mepiskan. Oh, you meant to drink the arba koisis on Pesach incrementally, sip by sip, rather than all at once. Says the Gemara, no, you're not meant to do it that way. Klum amru sheyishte. What is the reason why Chacham said you drink the wine then? To show cheres, freedom. Loy kadei sheyishte, v'loy sheyishtaker. Wasn't it so that a person should get slightly intoxicated, should have an effect on him? Im shashla piskan, if he drinks it in that manner, sip by sip, afu einim yishtaker, it won't have that same effect. Ma'alatis biyayin shal shvius. Can we use wine produced from shvius grapes, which weren't really cultivated properly on shvius? The fields are hefker, the farmers aren't really cultivating their fields, and perhaps the quality is not really up to par. Can it be used for the Seder, Tanir of Isha? Yeah. Yoitzin miyayin shal shvius, you can use that wine as well. Ma'alot is bekunditin. Can one use wine which was sweetened and spiced? With the Tani bar kapara, since bar kapara teaches us, kunditin kenyayin, kunditin has the same status as ordinary wine. Hada amra, this teaches us, yoitzin miyayin kunditin, even that wine can be used. Ma'alot is biyayin mezugin. What about overly diluted wine, where you have at least a sixth of undiluted wine in there, but it's more than the above mentioned ratio of one part wine to 4 to 3 parts water? Is that okay? But the Tani Rav Chia, since Rav Chia tells us arba koises she'amru, those 4 koises which the Chacham instituted, yoitzin ben chayin ben mezugin, you can use them, drink them whether they're chayin, undiluted wine, ben mezugin, or whether it's diluted, provided that it has a taste and appearance of wine. Apparently even diluted wine is okay as long as it still tastes and looks like wine. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, mitzvah lotzis b'yayin adam. It's a mitzvah. It's preferred to use red wine for the Seder. It's not me'akev, but it's l'chatchila. Shenemar alter yayin kis adam. Ki yitin b'kois einai. Don't be overly drawn after wine, after its taste and its redness. Apparently, yis adam, redness, is the preferred color for wine. Tani, we learned in the Brisa, mevushel k'metubel. When it comes to pouring wine on the mizbeach, nisachim, you need to have the wine in its original state, pristine. Mevushel, cooked wine, is like spiced wine, which is unqualified for nisachim. If that's the case, what about the arba koises? Ma'olotis b'yayim mevushel. Could you use cooked wine for the arba koises? Rabbi Yehuda, yoitzin b'yayim mevushel, you can use cooked wine. So the halacha of nesachim on the mizbeach follow different guidelines. You need to have pure, unadulterated, pristine wine in its original form for the mizbeach. But when it comes to the seder, as long as it still is considered wine, that's okay. So Rabbi Yehuda says it's okay to cook your wine. Rabbi Yehuda tamei. In fact, Rabbi Yehuda followed his own practice. So Rabbi Yehuda used to do that. Rabbi Yehuda kadavashasi abakasi the pischa. When he would drink the 4 kaises by Pesach, he was so sensitive, overly sensitive to the effect of wine. Have a chazak ratio, he would have a headache. Ad chag until Shavuos. This is why he would first cook it to mitigate the effect, to weaken the effect of the wine. Chamite, once she noticed him, Chado Matronisa, a noble woman, noticed Rabbi Yehuda, Apoy Nehirin. His face was glowing. He had a radiating countenance. Amra, she turned to him and said, Saba, elder, Chada Mahani Tlas, Milan. I bet you one of the following 3 things, Isbach, you're involved with. She put him down. She says, why are you in such a happy mood? Oy de shasoy chamrat. Either you're a drunkard, oy de malvi beribisat, or you're engaged in money lending, successful business, you're a wealthy fellow, oy de megradel chaziriat, or you're engaged in raising chazirim, which give birth to a lot of her time and very profitable business. So she was putting him down. Omar Lahut responded to Teipach Rucha, Tai Itza. This Isha, she'll lose her wind. The Lashon of Klala. The Chada Alein Tlas Milaya, Lesbi. Even one of these 3 things I don't have. I'm not engaged in any of these things that you mentioned. Why is my face glowing? Ella Ulpani Shchiachli. I'm engaged in learning. In Torah Dachik Siv Chachmas Adam Torah Panav. The Chachma person makes his face glow. She had no concept about these concepts. Her Ravo Asil Tveria. Her Ravo arrived in Tveria. Chamune, they noticed him. Talmid Doid Rabbi Yehuda. Talmid Rabbi Yehuda noticed Apoy Noir, his face was glowing. Amron Talmidim Rabbi Yehuda. So Talmidim speculated to Rabbi Yehuda, Ashkech Rabbi Avo Sima. Rabbi must have found the treasure, that's why he's so happy. Rabbi Yehuda knew better. It's spiritual satisfaction that is being reflected here. Also, so Ravo came to Rabbi Yehuda, Amalei Rabbi Yehuda turned to him and he said, Maya Reisa Chadata, Shamas, what good, what new, Reisa Chad, a new shtigl Torah, a new halacha did you hear? He was certain that his radiating appearance was related to a new Torah that he heard. Amalei, in fact, Ravo responded, Teisefta Atika. I heard about an old Teisefta. That's why I'm in such a good mood. Kara alei, Rabbi Yehuda related to him, on him, Chachmas Adam Toypan, the Chachma of a person makes his face radiate. Rabbi Chanan, Lugudai Raisa. If you want to know the shear of a lug minatera, we have a measuring unit called Tmunta Atika. This old Tmunta, Tmani, Tamna, some type of measuring unit. The ancient one, used in Sipari for fish juice. The Muraisa, this was for the fish juice, this is Sipari. So the old Tmunta used in Sipari for fish juice, that actually contained a lug. This way you know. Rabbi Yehuda, Chachmanale, and I actually remember the Chachmanale, the base Rabbi Yanai, Hava Mechilim Badvash. In the home of Rabbi Yanai, they would use it to measure honey. Okay, so that's the shear of a lug. Tani, we learned in the Bryce. If you'd like to know the shear of a revius, listen to this. Chatzi Shminis Tevronis Hayishana. The old Shminis measuring unit used in Tveria, half of that constitutes a revius. Rabbi Yehuda, getting back to the lug, which was equated to the measuring unit called Tmunta Atika, the old Tmunta, the ancient Tmunta, says Rabbi Yehuda, why ancient? In my days, we used to use it. Hadain Didanu. It was ours. Why did they call it Atika? Just because it was used years ago, we used during my days as well. The one answers as follows. Some explain the Havas Zeir of a Rapsa, because initially it was smaller in size and then they expanded the measuring unit. A lug is equated with the original form, the ancient Tamunta. Some explain the Azira. So it used to be small and then they expanded it a bit, they added to its volume, and then they actually shrunk it back. That's Azira. But they didn't shrink it back to its original size. And therefore we have to relate to the original Tmunta Atik. Kamu Shir Shalkos. If one wants to figure out the volume of Revius, what dimensions will he use? Rabbi Yossi b'Shem Rabbi Yossi ben Pazi. Rabbi Yossi bar Bevi b'Shem Rabbi Shmuel. Etzba'ayim al etzba'ayim. It's 2 finger widths by 2 finger widths. So it's a square of 2 by 2 etzba'is. Al rum, how high? Etzba u'mechza, 1.5 fingers. U'shlish etzba, a third. So 1.7 in height. 2 by 2 by 1.7. In there you'll fit Revius. Time for a quick chazar. We discussed the Rosh Hashanah for Masa Behema, several shitas, and anything born within this year is considered this year's crop. We discussed how to do Trumas Halishka in a way which avoids creating any suspicion. We discussed drinking the 4 kaises, even in out of sequence, even bekrach echad yoytze, even if you sip it, yoytze. Shal shvius yoytze, spiced and sweetened, over diluted. Mevoshal, lechatchila, it's meant to be red. And we learned about the shear of a lug and a revius. Hatzlacha Rab.